But I just like the four-mounted pedals.
Yeah.
Giving that extra, just making it a little bit extra difficult to drive.
Hi everyone, welcome to Nightfall.Drives. Doug here, and today we're with Rohan and his 1969 Alfa GTV 1750. Thanks so much, Rohan, for showing me around GTV today and a few others. Check out the other videos coming out and Rohan's channel, RC Classic Garage.
Thank you and welcome.
Thanks so much. I must confess straight away, the GTV is something I feel like I don't know it actually existed until a few years ago, despite being a car guy. I never saw these when I was younger, really, but now I can't get enough of them. It's beautiful. Where did your interest come from?
I've always loved Italian cars. When I was young, I've always dreamt of owning a Ferrari. So when I set out looking at classic cars, I thought, well, couldn't afford a Ferrari at the time, so I thought Alfa Romeo is really the way to go. And I ended up buying an Alfa Romeo Duetta Spider, which is a roundtail a roundtail Spider first. And I fell in love with the 105 series car, which is what this is. I later wanted a coupe version, and this one came up. And this is a 105 series, very early 1969 1750 GTV.
Lovely. And they did, like you say, do a few different body styles and things. So this is sort of 2+2 4-cylinder rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, so this is the 1750 5-speed gearbox.
Yeah.
Rear-wheel drive. They started these cars really, and I would say the most desirable ones of these series are the 1750. They also did them in a step nose, so when they produced the 105 series, they did them in 1300, 1600, 1750, and then they later upgraded the 1750 to the 2-litre. So that's really how they did these cars, and as I say, this is a very early Series 1, which you can always tell from the front lights on the bumper, the indicator lights on top of the bumper, and the seats, which are very distinctive in these cars as opposed to the rest of them.
Yeah, I did notice these. I wasn't sure if they're original seats, but you can see through the sides, can't you? The bolsters.
Yeah, so that's
quite modern.
That's the original 1750 Series 1 seat. They changed them in the Series 2 and the later 2-litre. So it's one of the distinctive factors that I really liked about the car when I set out to buy one.
Yeah, yeah. And the cloverleaf, obviously these days, is a sort of performance variant of Alphas. But did they all have that, or was this a top of the range?
I think it was, because they always put the GTV on these, the V for Veloci, which I think is sport or fast version, and they later called the other ones the juniors, so there is a slight distinction between them, but this being the GTV and Veloci was the top of the range of that era that they were bringing out at the time, or that series that they were bringing out at the time.
Yeah, yeah. The Italian car theme goes around the place, but you obviously still get out and use it a lot. It's been in the UK for a few years now.
Yeah, so this car came up for sale in South Africa at the time when I was looking for cars. I bought it in 2009, so I've owned the car for probably about close to 15 years now. The car was a Johannesburg car, so it meant it was very rust-free. It had been in upcountry its entire life. That's what really attracted me to the car, because these can rust. It is one of the issues that these Alphas have. Yeah. So this was a relatively rust-free car. I've done quite a bit of work in trying to just preserve it and maintain it and get it into the best position I can. Bit of a running restoration, so it's had a lot of paint work. Its interior has been refreshed. The engine and gearbox are pretty original on the car, but I have upgraded to electronic ignition, high torque starter, and the suspension has been redone. So other than that, it's been a really good car, but I try and use it and enjoy it as much as possible. Yeah,
well, I feel like you're providing a service to the UK in a way. You're bringing over these cars which are in great condition because they've been in warm climate, and now you're obviously looking after them, keeping them under cover, but you're also sharing them with take them to shows and things. And
Yeah,
so,
and I really enjoy using them, enjoying them, sharing them, and always been a huge Italian car fan. So
yeah. Can we have a look under the bonnet before we set off? That's right.
sure. So as I said, this is a 1750 4-cylinder. It has the twin Weber carburetors.
Okay, with this,
Running a 5-speed manual gearbox, which was quite unique at the time. I mean, this car came out at a very similar time to the E-Type. 1968, 1969. This had a 5-speed, the E-Type had a 4-speed. And actually, funnily enough, these cars were priced the same in the UK at the time. £2,250 brand new for an E-Type. 2+2 and £2,250 for this car. So somebody looking for a 2+2 coupe at the time would have had the choice between those two cars.
The E-Type was famously very good value compared to some other ones, because obviously it had the straight six, the 4.2, and on paper it was a bit more car for the money, I guess. But then this, people always love the Italian, the style, and the way it drives. Yeah,
I mean, this car, you'll see, has got a lot of flair and Italian style to it. It's really a very different drive to the E-Type. But actually, they were very expensive at the time when they came out, and I mean, it was, I think, double the price of a Ford Cortina. At the time.
Well, very, very much looking forward to experiencing it. So shall we head out?
Yeah, sure.
First thing I noticed is the beautiful steering wheel. There's a lovely thin rim, classic, proper classic feature.
It is.
And it is very snug, but actually headroom's not too bad. It's great visibility as well.
Yep. There's a lot of glass around you, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love the feel of these old cars.
Yeah.
You can put your foot down and it doesn't really go anywhere.
You get the most out of it without worrying about your license.
Exactly. I mean, it's one of those cars that, you just got to appreciate the classic car feel about it. The woodroom steering wheel, a bit of a rickety gearbox, and just that really good old classic car smell and feel as you're driving the car.
Yeah, I've always felt it's a bit like time travel. It just takes you back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The smells and the sounds, and you have to work at it to get the best out of it.
Yeah.
And we're doing 30.
And these early cars as well, I like it that the pedals come up off the floor. So the later models had the pedals hang from behind the dash, which makes them probably a little bit easier to drive, but I just like the floor-mounted pedals. Giving that extra, just making it a little bit extra difficult to drive.
Bit of a challenge. Yeah, and you can hear everything going on, and it's riding really nicely though. Actually, I'm surprised how I suppose you've got the big section tyres.
Yeah, so this car is actually running a set of GTA replica rims on it, which has made quite a big improvement. So it's 14 inch with a good set of tyres, and as I said, we redid the suspension on the car, so it's nice and tight and actually feels pretty good to drive. And the gearbox on this car is its original gearbox, and one of the things that these cars suffer with is synchro mesh in second gear, which this car is suffering a little bit with. So if you don't get your gear change absolutely spot on, it will crunch.
So you got to get the revs at the perfect point.
Yes.
To help. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think you changed the oil to help a bit.
Yes, I sort of read the forum that if you put a really good oil in, it will help. It made it a lot better, but it hasn't fixed the problem completely. So I suppose at some stage when the car needs a new clutch or something, I'll have the gearbox taken out and it's something. But at the moment, I don't think it's something that needs to be done. And if you know how to change gears,
you get used to it, don't you? Drive around it. Yeah. How's the feeling of the gearbox? It's a 5-speed, isn't it?
Yes, it's a 5-speed. I mean, feels very good. When you get it right, it feels good. The throws are quite long.
Yeah. So
as you're going between the gears, it's for a sport version of a car, it has got quite a long throw on a gearbox. But
yeah, I think that's fairly typical with them. You go from once went to a video, and I've been driving my MX-5 a lot, and it's obviously a famously short throw, and then it was a Jaguar XJS manual, which was beautiful, a lovely feeling gearbox, but it felt so much longer to throw. But yeah, I think that's all part of it.
Yeah, and I mean, I love just how plain and simple these are. You've just got a speedometer, rev counter with the oil pressure, water temperature, and fuel gauge.
Yeah,
that's as sort of simple as it gets.
And I'm very impressed with the seats as well. I think we mentioned them earlier, but the shape of the seats is actually quite modern. You've got a lot of support.
Yeah, and like I said, these were only brought out in the 1750 GTV Mark 1, so a lot of them have had their seats changed, and then they're actually quite rare and very difficult to find when they have been changed. So I'm thankful that this one is still original.
Yeah. Does it like to be revved out, or do you?
Yeah, I find it does sort of like to be revved, and it's just such a sweet engine. It's just one of those engines that you can rev, and as I said, it's running at about 100 brake horsepower, so it's not the most powerful car, but it's just a really sweet drive. I mean, when you do get it right, I just love the way you can hear all the noises. You're so low to the ground, it feels a bit like being in a go-kart to an extent.
Yeah, this whole layout as well has appealed to me for rear-wheel drive, manual, front engine. It's the classic sort of small sports car, but with that go-kart feel, like you say. I don't know how confident are you, sort of pushing it a little bit?
Well, I actually used this in the last classic Alfa Goodwood track day.
Oh yeah.
And although my car was absolutely standard and I took it out, not modified in any way, I enjoyed using it and pushing it to its limit, and I really enjoyed the day. Wasn't very competitive, but I just enjoyed it and pushed it to its limits. And
yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, to get to know where the limits are as well. Obviously, the performance envelope when you step from a modern car to something like this is quite a dramatic change. But
yeah.
How's the handling balance then? Is it a little bit tail happy, or?
No, actually, it's actually pretty well balanced. For an old car in the 1960s, I find it handles a lot better than some of my other cars. So if I compare it to the MG or anything like that, this car is a far better handling car.
Yeah.
But I think compared to modern standards, it's obviously very different to modern cars. But But I think this car actually handles pretty well. You can go around the corners pretty quickly. It can give you a lot more spirit to drive. If you take something compared to the E-Type that we'll drive a little bit later, the interior is a lot more luxurious, but you also feel like you can get into it. It's a car that feels a lot more like a boat to drive, a lot more luxurious, a lot more, and this just feels a lot more sporty. And
yeah, I guess this is, like I think you said, that obviously they're similar layouts and the same price, but they actually offer quite different experiences.
Yes.
So the Jag being more of a long distance GT sort of thing, and I could just picture this being thrown around the Alpine roads.
Yes,
north of Italy. And I guess back in the day, it was seen as a sports car, wasn't it? It was seen as the car to throw around the country roads.
I think when it came out with its aluminium engine block, its double overhead cam, its 5-speed gearbox, I think it was quite revolutionary at the time, and it was probably reflected in its price point. And when they went into the later GTVs, they sort of went into V6s.
Oh yeah.
On the later model, they had the 2.5 V6, and then I think they had a very few racing models of the 3-litre V6 for the South African market, which is quite a rare car to find. But yeah, then the Alfa Sud came out, and there's just something special for me about this particular series of cars, and which is the 105 series, and even before the 101 series and the 102 series. As you're going back into the 50s, I also really like those Alfas. And you know, I'm busy restoring one of those Alfas as well, the 102 series, which is the 2-litre Touring Spider. Which then is a series before this.
Yeah, that's quite a big project on that one. I'll be looking forward to see how that turns out.
Yeah, and it's just that, you know, I took that car, it needed a significant amount of work, but I took it just because they are so rare and they are so difficult to find.
Yeah, and it's nice that this is kind of where it all started, isn't it? The Alfas, and you've got that link. You've gone on to build a lovely collection of other stuff, but still largely Italian, and it's all about the kind of the excitement, isn't it? And
it is, and
style.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, when I buy a car, I kind of keep them, as you can see, for a very long time, and I enjoy using them, working on them, maintaining them, keeping them to a standard that I can, because we are just custodians of these cars for a number of years. And this car, I mean, it started for me with Italian cars, and you know, I do plan on keeping this car for a very long time, because
well, I don't blame you. I was lucky enough to keep the MX-5 when I got the Lotus, and I think I'm heading down the same route, but I need to get a bit more storage space first. But completely understand. I suppose there's a lot of work that goes with them that you seem to be happy to take on as well, though.
Yes, I mean, I try and keep them well maintained and used as best I can, take them out and share them. I think it's one of the things I'd said to you earlier on. I like to do very simple upgrades to the car that do make them a bit more usable, and at least, you know, when you want to go to a show, they're able to start quite easily. And so that for me is a hard torque starter and the electronic distributor, and I think when you do that to the car, it just makes them so much more usable and enjoyable. And when you do want to go to an event and you do want to take one of the cars in particular, you know, at least it starts and it goes, and that's what I enjoy doing, and just sort of tinkering on them and keeping them going. And like you say, you can always return them to original, but if you get more out of them in the meantime, then why wouldn't you? I guess just all I've left to say is thank you very much, Rohan. It's been great to experience something from Italy from this era. I don't think I have before, and completely understand the others, such cool cars. So thanks so much for sharing it with me today. Absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming down and enjoying it.
And if you've enjoyed the video, please check out the other ones from Rohan's collection that will be coming up, and also RC Classic Garage, and see how Rohan gets on with the maintenance and enjoy these cars. So thanks a lot for watching. See you next time.